Hi, everyone. So we are still waiting for this to get started. They are supposed to start at 3:30. It is now past 3:30. We are still not going. So we are just kind of waiting for everything to kind of start still. We are still just waiting for this to start. As of right now, it has not started yet. It was due to start at 3:30, so we're not sure what is happening. So let's just kind of talk about a little bit of what's going on with the case while we wait. We know that the grand jury indicted them earlier today on the charges. It has been over 2 months since she was last seen. They still have not recovered her remains. They had their grand jury indictment today, which means that they would have taken initial testimony and evidence on the case to see if they have enough to pursue a criminal trial, which they do. They're still being held without bail. They will have to get separate lawyers unless they waive those rights at this point. Because they are a family, one will get appointed a court-appointed attorney, and then they'll have to appoint a private attorney to the other individual. Because the district attorney's office, like the, what are they called? The public defenders won't be able to both cover them. So like I said, this press conference was scheduled for 3:30 today. We are still just waiting for them to kick it off. I figured it'd be nice to kind of watch this together and be able to discuss it as it happens. Just keep refreshing to see when they're coming up. I didn't want to keep you guys hanging, though. I know we had some people waiting and watching to see what was happening, so this is weird because it shows me live streaming, but it also shows me not live streaming. Hold on. I just realized that it went into a separate link instead of opening up the same one. Let me fix that for everybody who is sitting in the waiting room in the other live stream. 02 Maniac, you guys might as well keep going. I will shoot you guys a message whenever this actually hits live. That way you don't have to sit and watch my stream. You guys just keep fundraising and doing your thing. Let me fix this, though. So like I said, we are still waiting for this 3:30 p.m. conference to kick off. We're watching the Honolulu Police Department's page as well as KHON2, which put that it was going to be live at 3:30. It's now 3:35 in Hawaii, and it's still not started yet. So hopefully they're getting that set up. Oh, here it comes right now.
Degree. Isaac Sonny Kalua was indicted and charged with the following: 1 count of murder in the second degree, 1 count of hindering prosecution in the first degree, 2 counts of persistent non-support, 2 counts of endangering the welfare of a minor in the second degree. Now, the murder charges are slightly different for the 2 of them. Lehua Kalua is charged both with inflicting the damage that led to the death of their adopted daughter, Isabella Ariel Kalua. She is also charged with being a person who has a duty to care for her daughter, and knowing she has suffered serious injury, did not take reasonable steps by calling either law enforcement or calling medical personnel to help her daughter. She's charged with both ways of proving murder in the second degree. Isaac Sonny Kalua is charged only with the latter way of not murder by omission, as it's referred to, having a duty to act to provide due care to somebody you owe a duty to and not taking the steps necessary, either contacting law enforcement or contacting medical personnel. Now, because of the heinous nature of this case, the legislature has given authority in very specific instances where we can seek extended term punishment. Murder in the second degree typically carries a punishment of life with the possibility of parole. But this is one of those rare cases where, because of the status of the victim being 8 years or younger, if we are successful in the prosecution, that means we can hopefully get they've both been charged, both convicted, and sent to prison for life without parole. The only other circumstances that typically lead to this are mass murders, murders of a police officer, murders of a prosecutor, murders of a witness. It's very, very rare for this to happen. Now, we are working extremely hard at this. This is a heinous crime. They need to be held accountable for it. And at this point, I want to, really, really congratulate the persistent hard work of the Honolulu Police Department in being patient, in investigating this case day after day, looking for evidence, trying to build this case. So I take my hat off to the leadership of HPD, Chief Vanek, Deputy Chief Mann, but also to the homicide detail, and in particular, Lieutenant Dina Tamis for her work. In addition, the Strategic Enforcement Division of HPD, as well as Specialized Service Division, or the SWAT team, and the FBI's Evidence Response Team. When law enforcement comes together, like HPD did with the FBI, and put in the kind of effort and the kind of work it takes to develop a case like this, it really is the way it ought to work. And we have worked hard with them to try to work out what charges can be done, what evidence can be presented, and we'll proceed with that. So at this time, I'd like to call Deputy Chief Mann up.
Thank you, Prosecutor Allen. Good afternoon. We'd like to thank the prosecutor's office and members who we worked very closely with on this case. For without them, we would not have succeeded. In addition to the homicide detail, patrol, and other HPD divisions that worked on this case for more than 2 months, we'd also like to thank our federal, state, and military partners for their assistance. A special heartfelt mahalo goes to the thousands of volunteers who came out to search for Ariel. Her story and her smile brought the community and island together. While this is not the outcome we had hoped for, we remain committed to our quest for the truth and justice. And again, we'd like to thank Prosecutor Alm and his office for their assistance and their continued hard work. Thank you.
All right, even though cases have been charged today, investigations will continue. This is the way it works in this kind of world. You've got a case already, you keep developing it to make the case as strong as possible moving ahead. So the efforts will continue. Both Kaluas are being held without bail, and we expect that to continue. Do you have any questions?
Steve?
Yeah.
At this point, no remains have been found. Are you still confident in being able to prosecute the case if that continues to be the case?
Okay. Well, first, I'm not going to talk about any evidence in the case. That was dealt with somewhat last week, and we will stand silent on that. At the same time, we have done, the prosecutor's office, working with the police, have done, I guess, what you refer to as a no-body case in the past. I did what I believe was the first one in State versus Michael Cattell back in 1988. He was a failed Navy SEAL who had murdered his wife. We never found the body. The jury convicted him of murdering her. Sometime later, Peter Carlisle did a case, I believe it was State versus Lankford. So it's not the most common situation, but it certainly is possible if that's what ends up happening in the case.
Can the deputy chief address the current state of the investigation in looking for remains?
I'm just going to say the investigation is ongoing. We did address the investigation last week. We're going to stand by our statements, but we do continue to address tips as they do come in.
Yeah, I know.
Steve, so does this open up the possibility that Isaac Kalua could get a lesser sentence than Lihua because of there's more charges against her?
Well, murder, even though there are two ways to prove it, you don't give them double punishment. It's charged as one count and it two ways to prove it. If the jury comes back in convicting both, those two counts typically merge. So on the most serious charges, if they're both convicted, it's life without parole. So the fact that she has a couple of more misdemeanors than he does wouldn't make any difference. It's life without parole if they are convicted of the top charge. Yeah. Okay.
Can I follow that one thing?
Sure.
And just to confirm, with all the charges, I know that I guess what came out today was that there was also some abuse inflicted with the older sister, so that's included in these charges?
We are charging whatever we see in order that we think we can prove. And the abuse involves more than one child.
And that's already
Yeah.
in this list, right?
Yeah.
Would there be any reason to accept a plea agreement from, say, Isaac?
You know, what happens down the road, we don't know. They're both charged at this point. We have evidence to prove the case at this point. How we go forward would depend on the circumstances at the time.
And also, in this type of a case, would there be any reason to bifurcate the case?
Not from our side. You know, this is...
From the judge?
That's up to the defense, whatever motions they want to file, whatever they think is appropriate to sever. We think it's appropriate to, with all the same witnesses involved in it, to bring one case and present that to the jury.
How many different cases of abuse did you find involving Isabella and her siblings? And how many times were police called to the home for those cases?
Again, we're not going to get into the evidence in the case today. It's to announce the charges, and we're not going to go into the details of that.
But were there more instances than the offenses charged?
Again, not going to comment.
Have to ask.
Yeah.
Also, for the layperson, Steve, I know there had been talk, or at least some people have been talking about murder in the first degree, and you mentioned the categories under which that would be the case: mass murder, law enforcement, etc. And maybe the layperson would ask, considering the heinousness of this, why not murder in the first degree? Maybe you can explain.
It doesn't fit with the facts of this case. The sentence would be the same as if it were murder in the first degree. You know, there are very specific instances where it can be murder in the first degree, as we discussed, mass murder, murder of a police officer, as I had done, when I was in this office before. What would make this the equivalent sentence of murder in the first degree is the status of the victim being under 9 years old, 8 years or younger, then an extended term. And the way that works is you have to charge it in the document to give the defense notice of it. The jury is not told of that. So you do the trial, and then if you are successful in getting a guilty verdict, then there's some more evidence to be presented. And then the jury decides whether the judge should have the authority to impose an extended term. So that can happen on occasion. If you can look up the extended term statutes in there for a variety of reasons. So this doesn't happen very often, but I think the legislature recognized that when you have extremely vulnerable victims like that, then extended terms should be a possibility to up the sentence from life in prison with the possibility of parole to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
In all your years of being a judge and being a prosecutor, where does this stand for you?
Well, it really is horrendous facts in the case. Like I said, we're not going to talk about it today, but it's really sickening. And that's why I think it's so important the police didn't give up. They kept working hard day after day for months to develop a case. And I think the community really embraced this situation. And they saw Ariel, they felt compelled, let's go help, let's go search. So we're looking at this to both hold people accountable and bring some closure to this situation.
And do you feel that this is going on, other types of abuse, neglect? Do you feel this is going on in the state? I mean, are you investigating
Unfortunately, there always is abuse going on, whether it's of adults or children. The more people can, if you see something, say something, call 911 if you hear of abuse going on or you see it. It gives them, even if you don't give your name, tell HPD, call 911, because it gives them something to go on. They can go check a situation out. I'll leave it to Deputy Chief Mann there, but I'm sure she'd echo the idea that the more people can say, the more we can get help.
Absolutely. If there's any concern about a neighbor, a friend, a niece, nephew, whoever it may be, yes, call 911. Give us the direction. Let us go and check it out. I mean, without any phone call to report it, we don't know. Okay, so please, yes, if there's any doubt at all, please call 911 to report it. Concerns.
Are you able to tell us whether there were calls to this house before?
That's part of the investigation. I'm not going to go into that. I'm sorry.
Okay, any last questions? Yeah.
February 8, 2019, is that safe to say that's when the abuse started? Or you're charging the incident started?
The
abuse goes back 2 years.
You can look at the indictments, right. The two kids were in the house for 3 years. You can look at the indictments to see what we charged. Beyond that, and the dates we included, beyond that, I don't want to comment. Okay, thank you all very much.
All right, guys. So that was the press conference. So now we know that there are, multiple children that they are saying were abused. They didn't really give very many details about what exactly they're thinking, and everything. I am glad to hear that Lehua is being charged more harshly. I think the fact that she was definitely the primary abuser and Sunny just let it happen. I think that is good that they're addressing that. Hopefully this encourages Sunny to roll on her and give the information over so that we can find out where she is. Maybe they can work out a plea deal with him so that we can, she needs brought home. She needs recovered. She's still out there. There's still people who know where she is. I really don't think that Sunny and Lehua are the only two involved in this. I know police aren't going to say otherwise. However, I still firmly believe that may be the case. So I pray that, anyone else who may know comes forward. So what were you guys' thoughts on everything? Yeah, Charisse, you can rewind. You should be able to rewind so that you can listen to it. You just came home. What prompted this news conference? So the news conference was because today was their criminal indictment, which means that today the prosecutors would have to present their evidence that they have and formal witnesses so that they could show their case, basically. And if they're indicted during the grand jury trial, it will be scheduled for a trial and a preliminary hearing. So basically what that means is they likely had her older sister testify or a video of her testifying. They likely had different information that they presented that they have recovered from the scene. They obviously wouldn't have presented their entire case, but that's basically what happens. And then a grand jury decides whether or not they think they have enough evidence to be able to find them guilty, essentially. Without a grand jury trial, this case just sits. So it's a good thing that this happened today. I'm glad that they came out and gave an update afterwards. I knew that I was aware that this grand jury was happening today. I just wasn't sure if they were going to talk about it or not. So let me pull up Ariel's picture because I think that's important. You know, she's still out there and someone still knows where she's at. So I hope that if you have information on this case or anything that's been going on with this case, that you come forward. The children were there for 3 years, you heard him say, and that they are looking for evidence over that 3-year period still. If you have any information, they are now saying that the abuse involved multiple children. It was not just Ariel, which we knew from Big Sis's information on the arrest affidavit. I am curious to find out if any of the little sisters were abused. I truly hope not. I hope that Sunny rolls on Lehua and tells it all. I want them to be convicted on all charges and live a very long life behind prison walls. Yes, me too. I feel like the only way that we are going to find out where she is if somebody speaks up and comes forward. I still believe that there are people who may know where she is that are walking amongst us every day. And I pray that it wears in their heart. And who knows, maybe even Sunny will tell where she is, knowing that they are so guilty and they are so caught. You know, he's supposedly supposed to be a godly man. You know, everybody in the neighborhoods have talked about how godly he is and stuff like that. And it makes, number one, it makes Christians look terrible. But number two, you know, if that's true, if there is some type of God in his heart, I hope that weighs on him and eats away at him. You know, God doesn't let you just sin and get away with it. So I pray that eats away with him until he tells where she is. Yeah, Sunny did something with the body. Yes, you know, he had 2 full weeks that he took off work saying that he had COVID to be able to dispose of her. So she could literally be anywhere. She could literally be anywhere. And I haven't heard if they had access to a boat or not. That's something that people keep asking. I'm not sure. I haven't heard about the pig farm. Like, I mean, I've heard the rumors about it, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I hope not. You know, both of those situations are a will we get her back scenario. And both of those things I would like to think are not going to happen. I pray that she is findable and that we will find her and that we will be able to lay her down to rest in peace. Hi, Savage. Yeah, evil feels no regret. You're right, dude, Hawaii. You're really right. I guess I can just stay hopeful. You know, 2.5 weeks off. What's the bio parent's story? How did she get in their hands? So the bio parent's history is not very important. I understand that people are very curious about their life and how she ended up in the Kalua's hands. But it takes away from her story in a way. They are drug addicts. They are struggling addicts. She was never offered to more than half of her family. CPS, immediately after they were removed from care of the biological family, put her with the Kaluas, essentially. So they didn't follow protocols, and that's the important part here. CPS failed her, put her with felons, and the felons killed her. You know, she never suffered abuse in her biological family's hands. She has never been hurt by her biological parents. You know, they loved these children, and you can look back at photos of before they went into custody and after, and the children looked happy. They looked healthy. They were taken care of. The parents just struggled with a disease. They struggled with drug use. Yeah, CPS is super dirty. That's why I ask. That's exactly what it is. So, let me take you guys to Instagram for a second, because Ghost Protocol, who digs into abuse and different cases, you know, he is very on top of protecting children, basically, is his main goal. Oh no, I think it's down. He put up a slide earlier. It must have been yesterday. And it had... Nope, it's gone. He put it on his story yesterday, and it had messages from the caseworker. This is her caseworker. He had also put messages from her back and forth. She did start emailing him. And, you know, it was just appalling because she takes no ownership of what happened. Even still. And he also had a post with the guardian ad litem's name. I know a lot of people have been looking for that. So it was on here too yesterday. I do have a screenshot of it. I'm going to have to send over so that I can pull it up for you guys, because it's on my phone, not on the computer. And, you know, it's just upsetting that this even happened. You know, because it didn't have to happen. This should have never happened. But she failed. This lady, who he says may be an adoptive parent, and she probably views all biological parents whose kids are in CPS as trash and adoptive parents as angels, which is why she would have kept Ariel with those monsters. She needs investigated fire charged with negligence that led to death of Ariel Sellers. So, you know, he has a lot of stuff on his Instagram pages. He's very about exposing, you know, things that go wrong. Not just in this case, but others' cases. And so that's been something that he's been blasting and focusing on, you know, and he swears a lot. So I try not to like really show his post, because it's not really my favorite thing in the world. But, you know, there's just so many things that could have happened, that these children could have been saved, that Ariel could have been saved. And they weren't, because this worker who was responsible for them, you know, she made it a point to not help. I heard that Lehua now has COVID. Yes, Kerwin, that's what I'm hearing as well. Yeah, Mama X, I agree that Sonny is just as much at fault, because he watched it happen and he did nothing. You can't do that. You can't see abuse and not speak up. You know, if you don't speak up whenever you see abuse, then that's the problem. So, Dude Hawaii, they initially went to their grandma Barb. The parents gave custody to the grandma Barb. And then CWS removed them from Grandma Barb's house to put them into custody, because Grandma Barb's boyfriend was in an accident, and after his accident, they said that she was too tired to be able to take care of the children. And that's whenever they put the children into the foster care system. The parents gave them over to the mom, though. And from there, they went to foster care. Again, this all comes down to CWS, though. They didn't contact any other familia. They didn't look for extended family, being the grandmother on the father's side or, distant relatives. They just looked at the 3 or 4 in the area, decided they weren't fit, and turned them over to the Kaluas. They didn't do their due diligence to check everyone in the family. And, there are laws that say that they are supposed to check everyone in the family. They violated protocol. Let me send that picture of the workers over, because I think I took a screenshot of it earlier. The whole case is just sad. It's really disheartening because, things could have went so differently if she would have done her job. And this goes beyond, I was kind of irritated seeing the article earlier today that blamed this on COVID-19 and staffing shortages. These children were placed in this home in 2019. This had absolutely nothing to do with COVID. They didn't look at his background check or do their due diligence long before COVID ever happened. So Grandma Barb's custody was not through CPS CWS Family Court. I'm not entirely sure, Savage. I think that is where Mel and Adam had placed them, and then they were already being talked to by CWS, and then through that the kids ended up at Grandma Barb's house. Now I'm not sure if it was official placement or not. I'd have to ask. Hold on, let me pull up this picture because, like I said, I do have it. You just have to send it. And again, these are messages between her and Ghost Protocol. So I am not involved in any of these messages. I wasn't involved in any of the conversation. I just, like I said, I screenshot it because I screenshot everything. If you text or call me, I screenshot it before you ever got the chance to delete it. I can guarantee you that. Like 3 memory cards on my phone. Oops. Hold on. I'm going to have to save it so that I can blow it up, unfortunately. Sorry for the long pause, you guys. I hate it whenever I get quiet all of a sudden. It's sad that I have a folder for this case called CWS and I'm on screenshot number 30. That should never be a thing. Normally you never see CWS speak out in these cases, and they just keep going, man. They feel no problems with running their mouths to different people about this case. It's very disturbing, and a huge violation of their social media policy. Huge. Okay. Let me pull this up for you guys. Sorry. I'll post this in the group because you can barely see it. But what this is the administrator in charge of the case, the guardian ad litem, and the social worker that were in charge of her case. Ghost Protocol has I don't know if he has people inside of the systems or what, but he seems to always be able to find out everything. He is definitely the type of person that I would never want to cross if he's in fact a boy. I don't even know. Ghost Protocol, for all I know, could be a female. He's definitely as vindictive as one whenever you get on his bad side. I have watched him, blast people very, very harshly. So, but this is the 3 different people who are to blame for her placement. Like I said, I'm not sure where he gets his information from. It always baffles me, some of the stuff that he comes out with. That is that. Let me pull up. And then the messages, again, are going to be very blurry. This one it's from Miley. I believe that's how you say her name. It says, "Stop harassing me with your lies. Stop the lies." And they say, Ghost Protocol says, "You tell us what happened." The next one says, "Here's your chance. You completely ignored the abuse claims." She says, "Why? Who are you? Did you step up to help the family? You were just a coward hiding behind a computer spewing lies and deceit. Stop the nonsense." So is she insinuating that they killed her and locked her into a dog crate and starved her to death because no one stepped up to help them? Like, is that how you guys read this? Because that's how I'm reading this. She's insinuating that no one stepped up to help the Kaluas, so they had no choice, basically, to keep her in a dog crate and starve her to death. Sean Lathrop is a supervisor at CWS. He is not Miley's direct supervisor. He is a supervisor at CWS, though, who is commenting on the case. Hold on. Okay, so that he is a supervisor, but not her direct supervisor. He does work for CWS, though. And then the next message says, I'm the person who will not stop until you end up jobless and in jail. Why don't you answer the question, how many families have you screwed? And she said, that's because you're a troublemaker and a coward. Mahalo. And he says, you will see the inside of a courtroom by the time this is done, I promise. And the inside of a jail cell. Again, I keep referring to him as a he. I don't know if he is a man or not. It just seems like Ghost Protocol seems like a manly name, I guess. I don't know. But so these messages, like I said, that's between him and her. But I just want to go back to that last one. She says, did you step up to help this family? And I don't understand what she means by that. Like, is she trying to justify that they killed her? Yeah, Ghost Protocol is awesome. They can't get past Ghost Protocol. Good luck. Yeah, it blows my mind. Dude, Hawaii, I am not sure. He spoke out about her case. For all I know, he is directly connected to it. I know that he is a high-up CWS official who should not have been gaslighting these parents. I know that he has also been turned into CWS corporate and his bosses because he was speaking on the case that has a gag order publicly and gaslighted the associate or the parents. I can pull up his profile. I can pull up the messages. I still have everything. This is considered gaslighting. That is what he did. And we went over what gaslighting is yesterday. You can't do this, especially not as a CWS official. It is against their social media policy. It is against the rules. He is a CWS supervisor in Hawaii. He did speak directly on this case. He was against violation. He does personally know her family and knows the background of this case. And he spoke out against her. Spoke out against the case. You cannot do that. It is in direct violation. I hope he gets fired right along with everyone else. Yeah, Lily Rose, that's whenever they cut off the bio family. Mel continuously was pointing out abuse claims, and they ignored it multiple times. And not only did they ignore it, but they also then removed her parental rights. This is not the first time this caseworker has done this to a family. She did this in the past. There was a case that she worked on that the family actually sued, and whenever that happened, they should have pressed charges. They should have removed her ability to be in charge of cases at that point. CWS didn't, however. You know, she's still working with children. Even today, she is still working with children. It's not acceptable. There are multiple associates within this department. There is 3 different associates that have spoken out on social media. Sean Lathrop, Miley, and then there was a Natasha in the comments the other day. You can't do it. It's against policy. You can't do it. I will post these back and forth conversation between Ghost Protocol and Miley in the group, because I do think it's important for people to see. I didn't realize that he had taken it down, or that it was just part of his story. Yes, Dude Hawaii, he actually worked with the auntie at one point. So yes, he does personally know the family. A better question would be, why didn't CWS step up to help the bio family, bio parents? Just my opinion, though. Yeah, there are normally procedures that they follow to help families get clean, drug rehab programs and everything else like that, to help, you know. And if grandma was tired, that's even something that they could have offered assistance for, not taking her out of the family, not putting her in random places where she was obviously murdered. Where the sisters, now they're saying that multiple siblings are involved in the abuse. You know, how many is multiple? Was it just the older sister, or was it all of the siblings? Could you imagine? It's disgusting. Dude, Hawaii, I'm not sure what your goal is. I'm starting to wonder if you are Sean Lathrop. I started to think that the other day. So I did start saving all of your messages that you have posted on my YouTube the other day. I don't think it's relevant where the family has worked together or what they have done. The point is, he is a CWS worker who has commented publicly on this case. He violated his protocol for his job. I hope they fired him. I know that his stuff was sent all the way to the Attorney General, his gaslighting comments. Hi, Tammy. How are you? If you want to watch the press conference that is at the beginning of this video, you can rewind back to it. They basically said that they indicted the charges and they are charging Lehua with more things than they are charging Sunny with. I am glad that they came out and did a press conference after this today. I was worried that they would kind of be quiet now that everything has happened. I hope that the public pressure from the national news now continues to grow, and that this doesn't get swept under the rug, that CWS does not feel comfortable, and that laws are changed. Strengthening and preserving families is supposed to be the first focus. Separation is supposed to be last resort. Yeah, exactly. And to purposely not contact bio relatives is corrupt. I agree, Lily Rose. There was no reason for them to not contact this family. Absolutely no reason. Let me put up Ariel's picture again. Whoops. Premeditated murder in the first degree. Maybe Isaac spoke and they will find answers. I hope so, Tammy. I really hope that they come out and that he is able to speak up and say where he put her. Lehua may have been guilty of the crime of actually killing her. He is guilty of not stopping this, not interfering for God only knows how long. I'm really wanting to know how long ago this dog crate was purchased. I know that police will be able to find that information. I pray that she didn't live like that for a long time, because that would be awful. Awful to know. No, they weren't adopted until 2021, Tammy. They were adopted January 26th of 2021. So that's all I really have, guys. I just wanted to talk about the press conference a little bit and go over what we've seen, what is going on, and to just continue to bring her name to light. You think he was just intimidated by her family and she was the one who carried everything out? I think that Lehua definitely wore the pants in this relationship. I think that her brothers, with their questionable backgrounds and just their appearance, would scare the bejesus out of me if I was related to them. So I think it's very possible that, he may have been complacent with the things that were going on. I'm not saying he's an innocent man. He is, after all, a violent felon. For all we know, he may have been involved in the abuse. But with just the details that I know as of right now, with just those details, I wonder if this was a situation that he was scared to speak up. And I honestly, I feel like they are going to find a lot more information as they keep digging, but they still need people to come forward. They still need people to speak up. Yes, Ariel. Not innocent at all. No, I don't think he's innocent. Like I said, I think that he was complacent at the minimum. He's seen it. He watched it happen. He knew exactly what was going on. I question how much he was involved. Like I said, with his abusive background, he very well could have been beating the snot out of these kids right next to her. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, and she could have had dirt on him, even knowing something that he did, which made him keep this quiet. It's hard to say. You just really don't know. I am interested to see what happens. I know that their preliminary hearing is scheduled for the 25th, I want to say. There's another hearing scheduled on the 25th or 26th. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look it up. but Hawaii moves fast. Like, I follow cases that, Gannon Stauch was murdered in January of 2020, and that case still is not to trial. They just did the preliminary hearing, and his stepmom is still going for another psych evaluation. This is going to be her third one. That case might not end up fully in trial until April or later of this next year. So it'll be over 2 years, and it's still not gone to trial. So I am, 26. Thank you so much, Brittany. So I am shocked at how quickly Hawaii moves. And props to you guys for that, because instead of dragging out the justice, you guys are just getting it done. I just pray that they have her before this trial goes. Someone in the group said she was a loving person. Who? Lehua? There are people in the groups and in the news articles, if you look going back, there are still people who cannot believe that this happened. There are still people who are completely in denial. And it's because you never really know somebody. You can never really tell who someone is behind closed doors, because only God can see your heart. Only God can see your heart. And they could present themselves as the most loving, caring people in the world and be completely dirty and evil in the background. Like, look. They were taking her and walking around with her, pretending that they loved her, and they were doing this to her in the background. Who's Smiley that you're referring to in the last press conference on your comments? The one official was like smiling the entire time. It just really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because with it being so serious of a moment, and that they were announcing during that press conference that they arrested them and that she was dead. It's not a time to smile or to make jokes, to make light of the situation. And I know that a lot of people smile when they're nervous, but I do question if that's why they had different people addressing it today, because it just felt inappropriate to a lot of people who were watching. And I'm sure, I'm sure he didn't intend to be like that, but I think that that's probably why they had somebody else present today. Outside of the fact that that was the district attorney, but the female officer who stood up. Because I know there was a lot of criticism in the news comments and in the different comments about the way that he was smiling the whole time. But whenever you have a case that is, it's national now, I would be nervous. And I know that nerves does that to a lot of people. So, but that's all I really have, you guys. I just wanted to come on, show the press conference, and discuss it a little bit so that we can, know what's going on together. We're going to keep following this case together. I've been off a lot lately. I haven't been doing as many lives. I have a lot of stuff going on in my personal life right now that I've been dealing with. So it's just, doing as much. Yes, Nancy Grace posted Ariel's story on her Facebook. That's great, Brittany. It's good that they're starting to finally notice. It's sad that we couldn't get people on board before this all happened. But I'm glad, since she is still missing, that the pressure is still coming. So I'm going to close in prayer like I normally do, you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, liking the video, all of those things, except for the one dislike, which I'm sure was due to Hawaii. I really think that he's Sean Lathrop. Just every video that I have done lately, he casually brings him up and starts questioning him or asking questions about him. So I think that that's him. So that is what it is. He won't be here anymore, though. So, okay, guys. All right. Thank you, dear Lord, for bringing us all together. Thank you for the justice system that we have, Lord. I pray that these district attorneys and everyone are able to get justice for Ariel and bring her home, Lord. I pray that these officers can find her and bring her home. You know, she needs to be laid to rest. Be with her family as they fight for custody, Lord, and fight the battles that they are fighting. You know, help these children, Lord, that are in harm's way. Be with these families. Be with Summer Wells. Dear Lord, she is still missing as well. Help to bring her home. Comfort these families, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. Have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for coming. Like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, share the video so if people can see the press conference, do all of the things. Really appreciate it.